The way I was told about the story of the long walk was that it started off with the Spaniards. The Spaniards came in here looking for gold. We never had gold here. They thought there was gold in the walls. And so they went and rounded up a lot of the people. And so they took them up to a place called Massacre Cave, which is in this north side of the canyon, way in the back. And they massacred the Navajo people over there. And so somehow the army, they figured, that they were looking for gold because gold was only in California, Alaska, just right in that area. There was gold there, but we never had gold here. As you're driving in the canyon on the sand, you'll see a lot of quartz that are shining. Maybe that's what they saw, I don't know. But they thought that we had gold, so the government said, hey, let's just round up all the Navajo people from all over the place, not only from Canyon de Chelly, but from all over. And so they started rounding up people. But some of the Navajo people have hid in other areas where they know that the soldiers wouldn't go to. Here in the canyon, there was a lot of people that hid in ruins where you possibly couldn't go in, but there are ruins there that the Anasazis use using hand and toe holds. So when we were growing up, we were always told, take your shoes off, take your socks off, go run. And so why they said that to us was to harden underneath our soles, our feet, so that we can outrun the enemies. And so here's some footholds. They used to tell us, go up on those footholds, learn how to do that. And so I'm sure, they did that to a lot of their kids as they were growing up. So when they saw these soldiers coming, a lot of them went on the hand and toe holds to go into their hiding places. Navajo Fortress Rock, that's just above, about mile up. There was 125 Navajo people that went on top, and Barbencito was the one that went and took the people up there, and he was pretty much my fourth or fifth generation grandfather, and his land was just right on the opposite side, and this part here was also theirs, and then it goes up. So we have lands that we know that belong to the different clans, and they would give them to them so that they would work on it. And so when Kit Carson came in, he saw a lot of good fields, and he saw, a lot of things that the Navajos did, and he just trampled them over with the horses. And so he went and what he did was when the Navajo was home, he would just go over there and instead of, telling them to come out, he would set fire to the homes as well. Some of the children were trampled on, and, a lot of death happened here, and it's really a tragic story, and sometimes it still gets to me. But, people have to know a lot of the stories about what happened. And so up on Fortress Rock, even during the time the Spaniards were here, the Navajos went on top and they hid up there, and they also had food up there. And so even after the Spaniards left, the Navajo people, they dried a lot of these fruits, a lot of meat, a lot of vegetables. They dried them and they went and hauled them up on top because they already knew that there was enemies that were going to come. So when they did that, they went and survived on top of that rock for 4 years. And then there's some points, there's rocks that points out, there's 4 of them. They would come down from the top and they would stand there. Whatever they used to get water, they would make a long rope and they would just drop it down, and they would get the water and they would hoist it back up. And they did this at night, during the nighttime when the soldiers were peacefully sleeping, and maybe some of them were on guard, but some of them probably slept. And so they would do that at night, and they would hoist the water back up to the top, and they would pour it into the cistern. So during the day, the people had water, and they didn't have to worry about it. And then winter time, they would get the snow and they would melt that to make that into their own water. So a lot of these stories were passed down from generation to generation. So some of these trails were, used by the soldiers because they were easy to come down off of, and some of them were horseback trails. So they took their horses down from them, and so that's how a lot of the stories that were passed down were told to us. But 4 years later, when the Navajos came back, the people that were up on Fortress Rock, they would come down when there was no enemies around. So they would go hunting and they would bring back the meat for everybody to eat. Sometimes, gradually they would come back to the bottom. Gradually they would go back and they would work on their farm. Where they had hidden the seeds, they would get those and they would work on the field and they would start planting. So when the Navajo people came back from Fort Sumner, their fields was already worked on because their family had already planted, so they didn't have to starve. And right behind here, I have another orchard. There's two apple trees. There was one right here. It was an apple tree. It's a very old apple tree. And what I was told was that when the people were coming back and they were hungry, that apple tree was the one that pretty much saved some of them, because they went and picked them and they went and ate them. And so they saved the seeds on that, and so they took them further up. So a lot of these, were just like stories passed down, and then the seeds were also passed down from generation to generation. Like Catherine says, if you get seeds from someplace else, it's not going to grow here because they're not originally from here. It has to be, seeds that we had harvested during the time, and we had to, really save them, being really careful, and then store them in dry areas so we could use them the following year. Whatever plants, whatever we grow out, we would get the seeds off of that and just redo that year round every year. Like this one, we have some seeds here, and I forgot to bring them, but we're gonna be planting them right along this side and right in the back over here, so that they can grow out, so we could get more of the older peach orchards.